that sums up the show pretty well. Remember to click like, subscribe, the bell notification, and whatever else YouTube has you clicking on to support us. What's up everyone, I'm the Kaiju no Kami, and today I'm going to be taking a look at 2005's Mahou Sentai Magiranger. And you know what, just for the sake of it, let's get the obvious joke out of the way. Thanks to the popularity of Harry Potter in the 2000s, Toei decided to take their follow-up to Dekaranger, Mahou Sentai Magiranger, into a direction that followed magic and mythology. It featured a family of wizards empowered by the heavens who had to protect the world from the demons of hell. Magiranger premiered in February of 2005 with anime writer Atsushi Miyakawa running the show. While Miyakawa did work on a few episodes to both Hurricaneger and Abaranger, Magiranger became his first and only Super Sentai series he was the main writer to. On one hand, I can't exactly say I'm surprised, given that Magiranger is not exactly the greatest Sentai series ever. Alternatively, Toei has hired worse writers back to helm multiple series, so maybe I am? Either way, let's kick this review off by taking a look at Magiranger's heroes. The heroes. Magiranger brings back the family dynamic of 5-Man and Go-Go 5 by having our core ranger team be a quintet of siblings. Unlike with 5-Man and Go-Go 5, however, the Red Ranger is the youngest member of the team as opposed to being the oldest. They are the Ozu family, which is made up of the oldest brother Makito, Hoka, Tsubasa, Urara, and Kai. Now, one interesting thing to note is that when shortened, their name makes up the Japanese word Mahoskai, or wizard/magician, translating the family into the Wizards of Oz. I see what you did there. Our ranger cast are played by Yuki Ito, Ayumi Beppo, Hiroya Matsumoto, Asami Kai, and Atsushi Hashimoto. Overall, I can't exactly say they are my favorite ranger cast, as there doesn't seem to be a lot of great chemistry between some of the cast members, which makes it hard to really believe they are all related to one another. In fact, maybe it's just me, but Makito seems very out of place with his brethren to the point where I kept expecting there to be some huge plot twist revealing him to be adopted, even though that was never the case. What makes it worse is that he is way too goofy for my taste, especially considering he is the oldest sibling. I completely understand why Toei chose not to make the Red Ranger the oldest family member again, but I would have liked it if they had at least kept the oldest the most mature, as he tends to come off being extremely childish at times, which Ito seems incapable of handling in his performance naturally.
あれだマジレンジャーの隊長は俺ってことだなちょっと待て兄ちゃんは長男としてだな父さんと母さんの代わりになってみんなを引っ張っていく責任ってもんがあるんだ
Every time the man has to act silly, it comes off as forced as if he was trying way too hard. Makito also acquires what may be the ugliest ranger suit attack form in the history of Sentai. Oh, and he falls in love with one of the most despicable tramps to come into the series. Thank the gods she only appeared twice, though I really feel like the Rangers should have let a monster eat her as she deserved it.
じゃあこのサボテンに花を咲かせたら付き合ってあげる。
本当ですか
私だと思って可愛がってね。私を物にしたくてすり替えたんでしょ。
きっと俺の愛がこのサボテンに花を咲かせたんですよ。
咲くわけないのよ。だってあれ花が咲かないサボテンなんだもの。
You're a bitch!
Although Makito is a jerk at times, so maybe they do deserve each other?
悪ふざけじゃないなら何だって言うんだ子供のくせに放火なんかに結婚はできん話は終わりだ
Hoka doesn't fare much better, as I can't stand her airheaded playgirl attitude she encompasses throughout the vast majority of the show. She constantly goes on about being an expert in love while toying with the hearts of multiple men just because she gets a kick out of it. She will try to push her expertise onto Kai and his possible love interest while consistently making a mess of the situation. That's not to say Hoka is unlikable, as she does mean well. It's just that her lack of forethought can be very detrimental to any situation outside of one moment where she befriends a villain as she saw the good in him.
アフロ君、あなたいい人でしょ。殺生は嫌いとか言ってたし。
アフロ君、なんだそれ。
いや、その頭がアフロっぽいから。
My favorite scene with Hoka is easily when her and Kai had their bodies switched.
ない、ある。やー！
ある、ちょっとある。ない。
何がちょっとよ。
That might be one of my favorite scenes out of Magiranger because I'm always referencing it. Next up is Tsubasa, who is the most tolerable of the brothers. It also helps that he is somewhat the most fleshed out, as Tsubasa spent his teenage years being a selfish teen who eventually wanted to become Japan's best boxer until he had to quit being one for the sake of saving the world. He's also the one character you end up feeling the sorriest for, as he falls in love with a dead girl.
私はネリエスに命を奪われ魂を囚われてるの。人々を死に追いやる歌を歌わされるために。
Seriously, out of all the women in the world, he ends up going for the one that's a ghost? That's a special kind of kink. Of course, if you had Makito for a brother and his taste of women, you'd probably want a girl that was quiet too. Tsubasa is also the most ingenious one of the group, as he is always coming up with new concoctions to help his cohorts out, such as healing potions and enhancements for battle.
それは暁の結晶。これでお前を倒す。
My favorite ranger is Urara, as she is the most down-to-earth member of the team. She tries to assess a problem before tackling it, but will also do whatever she can to protect her family in the process.
一発殴ってくる。
裏で知れた。
何あんたたち。
She is also the one who seems to be influenced the most by their mother and trying to keep the family together when an argument occurs between them. On the other hand, we do learn that she is deathly afraid of frogs, as seen here.
そういえばあいつもカエルっぽい。いや、やだ。キモい。
Finally, we have Kai. Kai is not the worst Red Ranger out there. I mean, it kind of makes sense why he is brash, unthinking, and abrasive, as he's only 16. I just wish he had matured as the series went along in a similar fashion to Kenta and Mega Ranger. Kai is extremely hot-headed, jumping into a situation without considering any of the consequences, which can also get him into a lot of trouble. I guess that makes sense, considering he does represent the element of fire, but still. He's very full of himself.
一段と磨きのかかったこの俺の連星魔法を戦いに生かすわ。インフェルシアなんか目じゃないぜ。
This aspect also frustrates his pseudo-love interest, Yamazaki, as she likes him a lot, however, finds his obnoxious behavior to be a detriment, specifically when he looks down on his soccer team, believing he is the sole reason they stay afloat. Yamazaki also experiences Lois Lane syndrome, where she ends up idolizing Maji Red over Kai.
あの人が噂の魔法使いなのよ。私その魔法使いさんに恋しちゃったの。だからごめんオズくん。じゃあね、さよなら。また明日ね。
Fortunately, there are moments of maturity that do show up from time to time, such as an episode where he had to give up on his date with Yamazaki to take on a boxing monster after Tsubasa was injured in battle. At the start of the series, we meet the Ranger's mother, Miyuki, who ends up being taken out almost immediately after introducing her children to their magical abilities. It is also revealed that their father was a heavenly saint named Bleijo, who gave up his life 15 years prior to seal an evil entity from conquering the world. Thus, the loss of their parents is what really motivates the Ozu siblings into being the best heroes possible and always trying to overcome any obstacle that gets in their way through courage. Expect to hear the word courage, Yuki, many times in this series. It's the Magiranger equivalent to I'm getting fired up! Ugh.
俺は勇気なら誰にも負けないんだ。
はい勇気と無茶とは違うのそれを知らない者に本当の勇気はわからない本当の勇気がなければ魔法は使えないそれが勇気
Their costumes are quite striking with a black M shape that goes across their upper torso and down the entire body, while the visor on their helmets is in the shape of each member's elemental power. I also really like the capes as they allow for some showy poses. They wield a magical wand that can transform itself into a weapon that best suits its user, be it a sword, a bowgun, or an axe. Moreover, they have magical brooms that can fly around on to get to faraway places quicker than normal, while their transformation devices are another batch of cell phones. What's really clever about having their transformation devices be cell phones is that their upgrade form, Legendary Mode, utilizes a rotary phone system on their staffs. And people say you can't learn anything from a kid show. Only kids who grow up on either Magiranger or Power Rangers Mystic Force are going to know what a rotary phone is these days. God world. Assisting the Rangers is a very annoyingly stupid mandrake known as Mandara Boy. Being that he is nothing more than a plant, his character development is quite grounded into him just giving whatever advice the plot requires. He also has an infuriating way of speaking.
ここでうまくいったからといっていつもうまくいくとは限らないでござりますです。実戦では敵の体や武器に強力なパワーが宿っているでござりますです。
Mandara Boy is voiced by anime star Kumiko Higa, who has been in the likes of Gintama, The Greyman, Rockman.exe, and My Ultraman.
遠い遠いその昔5人の魔法使いがおりました大地のように揺るぎなく
The sixth ranger of the series is also a heavenly saint who is trained by Blajo, Sunjo.
天空勇者マジシャイン
Sunjo decides to take up the name Hikaru while he is on Earth and acts as the Ranger's teacher. He spends his time grading them on their abilities and gives them a pair of rings that allow them to eventually don their legendary forms. 15 years prior to the start of the series, Hikaru assisted Blajo when they were taking on the hordes of Hell, only to find himself in combat with a treacherous heavenly saint, leading to him being turned into a frog for the next decade and a half. It's thanks to Arara that he is restored to normal, which sets off a romantic relationship between the duo. As Maji Shine, Hikaru comes equipped with a magic lamp that contains a genie-like cat named Smokey. He is no Robin Williams. Nor Will Smith for that matter. Still, I don't mind Smokey that much despite his being able to pull out whatever he needs to out of thin air to help the plot along if necessary. As for Hikaru himself, sadly, despite his Heavenly Saint backstory and becoming the teacher of the Magirangers, he's very underutilized, which makes him come off as nothing more than wasted potential. Furthermore, he too seems to suffer Sixth Ranger syndrome by starting off all powerful and badass to then getting his ass handed to him just as easily as the remainder of the team. There are a few remaining Heavenly Saints that do appear occasionally throughout the show. First off, we have Lunagel, who starts off as a wandering girl with amnesia before returning to her role as being the bridge between the surface world and Magitopia. From there, we have Snowgel, who is the one who originally granted Miyuki the ability to transform into Magi Mother, along with helping unlock the Rangers' potential to access their legendary forms. Snowgel also appears to be an expert combatant. Finally, there is Magio, the ruler of heaven, or Magitopia, and essentially Earth's god. You may recognize Magio's actress, for she is played by Zyuranger's Machiko Soga in her final appearance before passing away.
お前はお前自身を滅ぼすまで上と虚無に囚われるであろうよせめて眠れ
The Villains. Magirangers' villains are a group of demons from the bowels of the earth known as the underground empire of hell, Infersia. Infersia is easily the best thing about this show, as they are what makes it truly watchable. Pretty much every villain found here is based off some sort of monster or demon found in mythology and literature, including those written by Bram Stoker, Mary Shelley, and H.P. Lovecraft. Their leader is a demon squid-like Cthulhu-esque being known as Enma, whose body was destroyed and sealed away by Bellagio years prior to the series' start. As such, his minions have been tasked with finding the means to resurrect his body so that he may finally turn the surface world into an empty wasteland of nothingness. Sadly, he's pretty one-dimensional compared to what other villains were doing at the time.
マジトピアの頂点に立つお前の魂ならば我が上を満たせるか
Enma's main minions include a part demon, part machine creature who blows out steam every time he gets angry Bronkin, a werewolf embossed knight known as Wozard, the vampire queen Valkyria, and the traitorous heavenly saint turned mummy Memi. Bronkin is the most basic of the quartet, as he pretty much embodies the trope of being the first general. He's loudmouth, quick to anger, and ferocious. On the positive side of the spectrum, voice actor Hisawa gives him a lot of personality that makes him quite memorable and badass.
馬様から授かったこの帝王権セルファングは獲物に植えてやれブザード一体いつになったらこの俺を地上に送り出すのだ
He gets to battle the Rangers in some of the best episodes of the early parts of the show, which also helps him stand out. His sword is said to be forged from one of Enma's teeth. The second main general, Memi, is okay. His backstory of betraying Magitopia for his own gain is an interesting one in concept, yet nothing is ever really done with it. It's like the writers had this idea for a traitor among the heavenly saints without any substance to follow up on it. I do love his design, especially the spotlights around his neck that reflects an array of colors on the back of his head. It's a shame because like with Hikaru, there was so much unexploited possibilities that could have really made Memi stand out as one of the finest Sentai villains of all time. Instead, he's as dreary as his wrappings. I really feel bad for voice actor Yasuhiro Takato, as his talent was wasted just as much as Memi's potential.
我が名は魔導神官メイミーインフェルシアの新しい指導者
Valkyria is Infersia's spy who often goes to the surface world to scout ahead of situation or assign task. The most interesting aspect about Valkyria, besides being immortal, is that she can split into two human-looking girls named Night and Mare.
人間なわけないじゃんないじゃん
それじゃやっぱりインフェルシアか
どうするねやどうするない
I really like Night and Mare, and they are the standout characters for me. They're always a blast to watch on screen thanks to their quirk of Night usually being the one to talk first and in complete sentences, while Mare will often repeat the last few words Night has said.
魔法使いってやーね邪魔ばっかりするんだから公式の魔法使いたちと同じ
This Walking Hot Topic commercial also has one of the most badass gothic rock songs that gothic rock had ever rocked. Oh god damn it. This song is gonna be stuck in my head for weeks again. It's a good song though. It is so damn good. But still, I don't want it in my head 24/7 for weeks on end.
あんたたちのはただのお歌でしょ
Another thing I love about Night and Mare is when they end up acquiring some upgrades later on in the series, which has Mare carrying around a frickin' Gatling gun. Valkyria is voiced by Misa Watanabe, who was Queen Beryl in Sailor Moon Crystal,
私がクイーンヴァンパイアだからよ吸血鬼の中の吸血鬼永遠の命を持つ選ばれた存在
while Chiaki Horan and Tomomi Kitagami portray Night and Mare.
こうしてみると随分倒されちゃったよねムカつくでも何これすっごい昔に書かれた本っぽいのに最近起こったことまで書いてある
Wozard is the hardest of the four to really discuss, as a lot of his character development dives into spoiler territory as the show progresses. The best way to put it is that he is an evil sorcerer who brandishes Enma's eye in the form of a shield. He is also the one villain that has a code of honor, for he will not attack the Rangers if they are unwilling to fight due to protecting an innocent bystander, nor if someone interferes with his battle.
どうした断るなんだと卑怯な真似は主義に反する
Tsutomu Isobe plays our chivalrous villain, who has been featured in a plethora of anime and live-action series and movies.
どうでもいいことだ。俺は馬様のためにいる。
Lastly, Wolzard can use magic to grow big and merges together with a robotic steed that gives him a centaur-like form, or a regular mech-based one called Wokaiser. There are two groups of monsters of the week. The first batch are a bunch of brainless hell beasts, which includes the likes of a manticore, cockatrice, a mushroom creature that will disintegrate you, well, that's not very fun, a skeleton, and a few trolls. Monster trolls, not the internet kind. This isn't Gridman. Oh, and not the ones with the poofy hair either. The second string of monsters are Hell Beastmen, which are monsters with personalities. Found here is a hilarious gremlin, a thief whose name is Gaston,
No one's quick as Gaston, no one's next as incredibly thick as Gaston.
a yeti, a samurai, a siren, and my personal favorite monster of the entire show, an incubus voiced by Hikaru Midorikawa.
ちょっと強く抱きしめて魂を抜いてやっただけだ。あと5時間もすりゃ完全に体と魂のつながりが切れて死んじまうから。
I also love the development between him and Valkyria, as it is hinted they were once a couple.
こいつ最低。
The grunts of this series are a bunch of zombies known as Zobils. There seems to be a couple of different rakes of Zobils, with ones that control Hell Beasts and lead other Zobils. Beyond that, and them having a secondary head after being sliced open, they are your typical Sentai grunts, if not some of the weakest of the entire franchise. They mostly get beaten by bad CGI rather than hand-to-hand combat. The most intriguing aspect of the villains comes in the form of the Infersia gods. These gods take on the reins to try and resurrect Enma through a series of trials that have set rules to them, and the gods must adhere to them or risk Enma's destruction. What makes this stand out from other series is that the gods themselves are both main characters and become the monsters of the week, with each one being featured in a two-parter, Sanzi Freet, who has a standalone story. The other 9 gods include Dagon, Sphinx, Wyvern, Cyclops, Sleipnir, Gorgon, Drake, Toad, and Titan. They all have their own unique gimmicks and personalities, such as Cyclops being a sniper, while Sleipnir rides along on a chariot that encompasses one of my favorite fights of the entire series against Wolzard. Anime and Toku voice actor Kazuki Yao returns after a few years away from Sentai to voice Drake,
やるじゃねえかそうこなじゃな
while Ghost in the Shell's Akio Otsuka is Dagon.
くだらんおしゃべりが過ぎるぞ。
おっとダゴン
ヴァンパイアなどといつまで戯れているつもりだ。早くつまみ出せ。
He would also go on to voice Champion Q Ranger. I love the entire concept of the Infersia gods, as they bring some much needed excitement to a series that had gone stale during the previous arc. It was also a crafty way of having Monsters of the Week not feel like Monsters of the Week, the Mecha. Surprisingly, there isn't a lot in the way of mecha beyond the basics, which is quite nice considering what I'm about to embark on in the next several Sentai reviews. Like with Kakuranger, the Magirangers actually transform into their mecha, which is compiled of a fairy, a mermaid, a minotaur, a Garuda, and a humanized form of a phoenix. I originally thought Kai turned into an Ifrit, but then the Infersia god happened, so what do I know? Kai's older siblings can merge together to form a dragon mech that Kai can then ride on. Together, they also combine together to form Magi King, who is like the black magician of mecha. Magi King as a whole is kind of a cool looking robot, as I love the magic hat and he is very symmetrical. The Rangers also control Magi King by becoming chess pieces for some reason. Because, you know, Harry Potter. Kai, or rather Magi Phoenix, is able to merge with Wolzard's horse to form Fire Kaiser. There's another version called Saint Kaiser, which fuses both Magi Phoenix and a unicorn mech together. Trevelyan is the name of Maji Shine's specialized mech, which alternates between a train and a robot. I was tempted to make a train joke, but I don't want to derail this review. Oh. Never mind. Trevelyan can take our heroes between the real world and altered dimensions, some of which can be used for training purposes. The overall design of Trevelyan is pleasing to the eyes with its matching color scheme, and he looks more like an older styled steam engine compared to the modernized version found in Go-Go 5. The final set of mecha is Maji Legend, which sees Kai turning into an actual phoenix while Makito and gang become a lion. Maji Legend's robot mode makes me think of a griffin in some aspects, and the spear staff he wields is cool. Unfortunately, the mech battles themselves are nothing to write home about, as a lot of them are pretty boring to watch unless their opponent is either Wolzard or Bronkin. The effects and music. There is a lot of CGI to be had in this show. Too much, in fact. Hell, most of the fight scenes found throughout Magiranger delve down into magical attacks as opposed to melee ones. Granted, the show is called Magiranger and is about magicians, so it makes sense for the heroes to fight with magic. Nevertheless, it doesn't make the battles any more exciting, rather the contrary.
It's boring.
It doesn't help matters that the CGI is very subpar and ages the show more than it should. The miniatures are average, with an occasional good-looking prop here or there. I did like the effects used for a scene of Maji Dragon battling Drake in a flying battle. One more negative towards everything is how uninspiring the camera work is. Aside from a few standout moments here or there, the camera work doesn't do anything extraordinary, which is a real shame considering this was the 24th entry in the franchise and one's well before it had better cinematography. Kyosuke Yamashita composed the show, and his score really helps elevate some of its action scenes that would have been otherwise bore-fest to watch without a killer soundtrack to amplify them. The music is extremely well done for it encapsulates the mood the show was going for with great precision. The Infersia theme is just amazing all around. As are these musical pieces. Takafumi Iwasaki's opening is pretty catchy and enjoyable, though it falsely advertises the show you are about to watch, as it makes it seem like you are going to be viewing something with a lot of energy involved when the show fails at that many times over. The ending theme, Jomon Korin, Magical Force, by Sister Mayo, is more akin to what the show provides, for this song meanders around in mediocrity before its rhythm finally gets good halfway through, only to falter again in the end.
You're boring, everybody! Quit boring everyone!
It's very disjointed musically. The episodes. Magiranger is like one of those series that had one bad episode for every good episode, two bad episodes for every two good episodes, and so on. There was just no consistency with this one, which was quite a shame. I found the show overall to be really dull and boring. There were a lot of really good moments that occurred, only to be bookended in inferiority. Or there were times when an episode started out strong, only to fall apart by the end, which is why there are many episodes that were contenders for my least favorite list. However, I decided to go with the one that annoyed me the most, and that was The Bride's Elder Brother. In this one, Hoka just announces to everyone she is marrying this one really dorky looking dude who speaks in an annoying voice as if he is on helium and moves around as if he has done 4 lines of coke, 30 milligrams of Adderall, and 7 cups of coffee.
あなたがうららちゃんですね。聞いてた通り。かわいいわ。
Shut up, you're so annoying!
This dude is just beyond jumpy and would make even Bond from Ranger tell him to chillax. This frustrates Makito to no end and he tries to belittle Hoka for it, not realizing there is a reason for why they are getting married without any warning whatsoever. The skeleton monster is cool even though the best part of the episode is the cold open.
ねえ助けて
This episode did not deserve a badass intro like that. As for my favorites, funny enough, my top 2 contenders both featured the Rangers getting their asses beat and knocked down for the final scene of the episode. The first choice was the first time the Rangers struggled against Bronkin, which had Wizard stealing their ability to form Maji King for several episodes.
なんでマジキングにならないんだ。
魔人合体の魔法力を吸い取ったんだ。
Ultimately, I went with my second choice, which was Valley of the Gods. Night and Mare find a book of prophecy that recites what monsters we're going to lose in what order before it flies away.
の中で笑うファンガス踊り食いのマンティコア眼力のストーントロル取り付きのスペクター闇夜のしもべリーチまたライブやっちゃおっか
The book leads them to the Valley of the Gods, which is the stronghold for the Infersia gods. They come to Earth to make their grand announcement before kicking Magiranger butt. It's quite intriguing how the narrative starts out overly happy before reality kicks in and the Magirangers learn their fight is far from done.
我らは冥府十神神々に背く罪深き者どもに裁きを下さんと現れるな。
Plus, I feel like it was the real game changer for the show when the viewers realized it was not going to play out in a manner they expected it to, at least initially. The movies. Oh my god. What a relief Magiranger is in that it only has 2 movies. The first is the summer theatrical film that revolves around Kai and Yamazaki. Yamazaki gets kidnapped by a berserker knight who wants to marry her and clothes her in the coolest looking wedding dress ever. This movie is also where we first meet Magio and Unigolan thanks to Mandara Boy being able to take the Ozu family to Magitopia. Hey, that's like the most growth any character in this series could have. We get a really long and drawn out scene of the team meeting the angels their mechs take the form of that feels like it came out of a Disney film. Kai interrupts Yamazaki's cool wedding music to save her. And the climactic battle stays within expectations. Overall, it's actually a pretty enjoyable film and must be watched between episodes 25 and 26 in order for it to make any sense. As for Magiranger vs. Ranger, again, you should know the drill by now. The movie does do one thing interesting in that Bond comes equipped with the Battleizer mode that was taken from Power Rangers SPD. Whoa, that's actually kind of cool. One of the villains looks like a pre-Beast Wars rat trap who is so into tall girls he gets easily tricked by a cross-dressing Tetsun Hikaru. There's a funny scene of Urara kicking a Zobil in the crotch. And and for some reason we get a pointless scene of Knight and Mare trading clothes with our rangers.
こういうセンスみたいなのしてみたかったのよね。断然勝てそうだもんね。
It's an okay movie that feels like it is meandering around without any true direction. In the end, Magiranger was a pretty average Super Sentai series that featured a subpar group of heroes while having a really strong cast of villains. They are easily what makes the show entertaining, and I appreciate the efforts, even if I would have rather had a show that was better than a substantial 3 out of 5 grown-ups in spandex. If you like magic or mythology, check it out. Just keep your expectations in check. It's by no means the worst Sentai series ever made, however, it's not anywhere near the best. If you're a villain lover like me, then you'll definitely want to watch it. All others, avoid it. Until next time, bye.
ラディーナデザー君にあげる Give you Friday の悪夢 Shut up!